Alright, good morning, party people. Welcome back to the podcast, back to Tomboy Official. Day 4, up through almost most of page 10. So, the topics touched on, there, again, a lot of deep topics. Aina talks about the mother and father and her upbringing, like how she learned or noticed that they had gifts that they never really fully tried to take to another level, and instead kind of worked just to be able to get the family by. But there are all these other gifts and skills that they had musically, creatively, that she never saw her parents kind of like branch out to try to use those gifts. And then kind of goes into this topic of, sitting alone with yourself, learning who you are as an individual, and and that kind of thing. So I think that's kind of like a pretty powerful message, though, because I feel like there is this, like, I was kind of raised in a different sort of environment, with tons of opportunity around me. Like, I know that I was, like, when I look around and I kind of see, like, not like a comparison, but I kind of see, like, household upbringing kind of messages that I got compared to, like, what other people I know may have gotten. Like, it's just a cultural thing, with African families. You're often very much, taught to learn to be pretty self-sufficient. You know how to do chores around the house, outside the house. You know how to do things like find work, get work, keep work, go to school, get the grades, find help if you need help, tutoring, that kind of thing. And, I was always, around the family who tried to give the best access to education, whether it was public school, private school. My job was to be a student, be a good daughter, a good example as the firstborn, and be a good student. Now, it didn't necessarily mean completely getting straight A's, even though it did mean, get straight A's, but I was never really a straight A student. But, you know, mostly because I don't think I really learned how to study, which is, it might sound stupid, but, I kind of never learned how to study till I was a little bit older, probably around like 8th grade or so, 7th grade. I finally realized that, it helps me to go home, review the lesson that I'm going to be learning in class the next day. And the first time I remember doing that was when we were doing, like, I don't remember what it was called. Like, when you do the multiplication kind of in, is it not factorial, I don't know the name of it, when it has like two sets of parentheses and you're making like you kind of use it in parabola graphing. I don't know the name of it though, but it was like an algebra 2 or algebra 1 type of a topic. And I always knew I was smart and had like the aptitude and ability to like sit with work and like study things, because I can sit and study the things that people would find the most boring. I really do get a lot out of studying almost more than just like consuming entertainment, like videos and stuff like that. Like I really like to read and learn and like problem solve and like think about like, oh, like what about this idea, and like delve into some historical topic and like figure out all the weird conspiracies and like, oh, like people come from this angle or that angle and why might they be, pushing this idea when it doesn't seem like it's fully accurate and stuff like that. Like I like to just break things down and feel like I'm learning um, about something in depth, even if it doesn't really matter to my day to day life or whatever. Um, like something I've been studying lately is like Nazarite vows. I mean, it has no bearing on my life whatsoever. I'm not trying to become a Nazarite, um, but it's basically like a vow in Judaism, and I guess Christians can do it too, but it's basically like this vow in Judaism where you don't consume wine or vinegar or any type of wine or vinegar or pickled types of stuff because it's vinegar. You don't cut your hair, um, and you don't go places where there's dead people. And it's like there's so much to it. Like there's like the Talmud has like multiple volumes written about, being a Nazarite versus in the Bible it's just like a little bit of information. Um, and it's just something that fascinates me. Um, and there's all these details around it, and I find it very interesting and thought provoking. Just the concept of like making a vow for like a spiritual reason, and just kind of trying to stick to it, and just how much concentration it takes. Because it was kind of weird. Like I think yesterday, um, like I kind of got back into studying about it for the last maybe couple days, a little bit. And it was funny. I was drinking this like white grape juice last night, and it just kind of hit me. Like I'm not trying to become a Nazarite, but I drank the grape juice, and I was like, shoot, if I was a Nazarite, I wouldn't have been able to drink this. Or even like, I think the day before, I'd had some stone ground mustard and ketchup with some like pieces of like hot dogs and stuff. Um, it's just, it's kind of a weird little snack that I like, just like, like sausages and like just little cut up into pieces and just like heat it up and then just eat a little bit of it. And I don't know if ketchup has vinegar, but I know mustard does. And, you know, I was thinking about it and I was just like, wow, like just without even thinking of it in the last couple days, I've already eaten things that, if if I had taken like a Nazarite vow, I wouldn't have been able to eat that, or consume that. And it's like just the process of like checking on what you eat and like learning about it. And like, I think when I first started studying the concept, I, I had eaten what did I eat? I think I ate like Subway, or I think it was Subway or some kind of like sub type sandwich. And I remember it had pickles on it and mustard and pepperoncinis, and I was just like, man, all this stuff has like vinegar, you know. And it, I like I'm that's just the kind of stuff I like to think about. Like I like to kind of think about things, think about applied types of lifestyles. I mean, I'm not planning on doing it, but whenever there's something kind of cultural like that, it might pique my interest, and I might be like, huh, what would it be like to live a life like this, or to live a period of time like this, under some kind of a religious vow or something like that. Like, it would be different. It would be interesting. Um, but I'm really into that kind of stuff. I always have been, and it kind of does it. Especially in my youth, it was definitely something that distracted me from schoolwork. Um, I was into music and stuff, and learning music, and I mean, I went back and forth with like sheet music. Like I could learn it fast if I actually sat and like studied, it would usually take me like on guitar, maybe like a week to relearn sheet music, or like even less than a week. Like I could do, I think I know the top two strings, or at least the top one string of notes, and then after that, it's hard for me to kind of sight read. Um, but I did grow up playing piano for, I don't know how many years I played. I want to say 3 years. I took lessons for a while. I think I got to the second or third book, but I don't remember what happened. I think something happened where my folks stopped paying the piano teacher on time, and she just kind of stopped showing up for my lessons on the school campus. So I would like leave class at a certain time and go to the lessons, and nobody told me it was canceled. um, and I remember my dad had got this like old piano from the church. Like one of the churches was like giving it away. Like it was old. Like the keys were like some of the pieces to the tops of the keys were like, I've talked about this before. They were like taken off, and so the tops were like exposed, and it was kind of like sticky at parts. And then my sister was really like a baby, and she had taken pennies and stuff and stuck them in between some of the keys. So like it wasn't like a perfectly working piano, but I mean it worked enough to practice on it. Um, and then later on, a little around that time, when eventually I think my dad destroyed the piano. I remember he took an axe or like a sledgehammer or something to it, and I remember him like, even though it was, I don't think he did it out of anger, but even though it was not really working, I still liked having it in the living room. And I remember he just like destroyed it so he could like break it up into pieces and like get it thrown out. um and I was just like, damn, like, you know and I was still interested in playing piano. So that's when I got this keyboard, this Yamaha, is like PSR or PRS 520, um, in like the 90s. I think it's from like 1998 or something like that. It's old, um, pre Y2K. So I had it, um, like for a pretty long time. I still have it now. Um, and I had this little beginner's guitar. I can't remember what I got first. If I got the guitar first, or if I got the keyboard first. I feel like I got the guitar first, but I didn't really start learning to play guitar till like 8th grade. But I had been playing piano in like maybe third, fourth, fifth grade, or fourth, fifth grade, something like that. Um, so yeah, um, but it was an interesting thing, just kind of being like, I never really felt too limited by stuff. Like I remember there was stuff I had interest in that my folks didn't want to pay for, like karate lessons, and like, I was like really into martial arts. That was something I never really formally got into. I kind of more informally got into it because, you could get library books back then. And me and my friends used to like learn the like stances and stuff, and do the warm-ups. We did the warm-ups during recess, and then we weren't allowed to play fight. And so what we would do is we would kind of stand side by side and like learn the like kicks and punches and blocks and stuff, and just practice it together. But then my friend, or whatever you want to call him, like this one guy I knew, he would always tease us and be like, "Oh, you can't learn from a book. Like, you guys are trying to learn from a book." And I'm just like, he took, like, basically, I remember telling him about this Kung Fu Sansu class that was like $20 a month. And he took the flyer to his mom and he ended up joining the class. And it was like 3, 4 blocks from our house. I remember I used to see it all the time, and I remember getting a flyer for myself and one for him, and I thought my parents were gonna let me join, and then they didn't, and he got to join, and I remember asking him to like teach me, and then he tried to teach me like one kind of like, it was kind of like a hammer, kind of like a hammer down kind of movement, um, and he tried to teach it to me, and I was trying to learn, but I think I was a little, you know how it is, like somebody teaches you something and you kind of like giggle because it's weird. So I did that like once when he was trying to teach it to me, and he was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna teach you anymore because you're laughing," and I'm like, "Okay, okay, like I won't," you know. And he really liked to just get under people's skin, so he never really finished teaching me anything. And he was kind of a jerk. Honestly, he was kind of one of those kids that was kind of like a jerk, you know, growing up. But yeah, I remember that, like trying to learn from him, and he didn't want to teach me. And I remember having another friend who was in Taekwondo, and she went up to either purple or brown belt, and I would kind of ask her questions. And I remember she could do like pull ups, push ups, sit ups, like a lot of them, you know, and she was good in like ranking in belts and stuff. And you know, I was, you know, I thought that was pretty cool. And she was, you know, she was a friend of mine. We always used to play like, you know, three flags up, like with the Nerf football and stuff like that. Like we'd play around on the playground a lot and stuff. And so like I remember her, you know, we're still friends. We went to the AFI concert together last weekend. Like we still know each other. And like yeah, I remember she was kind of like, for lack of a better term, like tomboyish, you know. And you know, she was kind of cool with like stuff. Like she wasn't like formally teaching me, but I would ask her like, "Oh, how do you do a roundhouse?" or "How do you do like this kind of thing?" or "How do you do that kind of thing?" Because I would like know about like, you know, horse stance or like whatever, and like she would kind of like show me how to do stuff, and I would kind of practice, and me and my brother would try to like practice and stuff. But we never like formally learned it, but we were, like I've mentioned before, we were athletic kids. Like we used to play outside all the time. You know, street hockey, basketball, football, not really baseball too much, but like catch. Not really tennis too much. We would play with like badminton sets, but like we never really had the nets or anything. Or like volleyball. Like I think volleyball, badminton, tennis, baseball. Those were kind of what we kind of played the least. Um, Definitely played a lot of soccer. Ran around at the parks, you know, balancing on stuff and going to the beach, body surfing, just a little bit of boogie boarding. A lot of my friends started surfing when I was younger too. Um, but definitely a lot of time outside. Um, like when we had friends over, you know, if we were indoors, we were playing like up until when everybody started getting video games. I don't think we like, you know, other than like Pogs and like some kind of card games, and like I think in junior high I kind of got a little bit into Magic the Gathering and like stuff like that. But like I was definitely around people and environments where there was a lot of opportunity to like learn a lot of different skills, be around a lot of different types of people, just take in a lot of different cultures and ideas about the world. And I think it kind of suited me because I, you know, even though there were still things about like maybe the household or environment I grew up in or the church and all that kind of stuff, like I still saw things around me that I liked, that I gravitated towards, and I was able to kind of like be around it and like talk to people who were doing those kind of things. So I think that was kind of nice. But yeah, I don't really know. Like I'm trying to think if there's something more to what I'm trying to say here. Like um like I didn't really grow up in an environment where there was like a lot of um like like people hiding talents and stuff. Like maybe they weren't like living off of it, but because I grew up around church, I was around a lot of talented people, and then also given opportunities to like participate in stuff. Like if you wanted to be on stage and like speak or like do, no, it was church stuff like prayers or do like the welcome or like do some kind of thing like that. Like you could get opportunities to get a mic in your hand and or like do music and be involved in sports or helping out or cooking or cleaning or like there was a lot of stuff you could participate in and just kind of learn how to do it. um, uh, Even like in high school or maybe it was early college for me, like setting up like little concerts, little kind of like punk shows that were approved. They had to be like pre-approved by the church, so it was like only Christian bands. And but we had a venue because we had the school with like the gymnasium was set up as like an auditorium too. um, and we didn't have to put chairs, but we had the stage, sound system, everything like that, and we had adults in our lives that were willing to kind of take time out of their busy week and weekends and get us over time. We would meet up like a couple times a week and like plan out what's going to happen for the snack stand, what's going to happen for beverages, what's going to happen for which band's going to play which sets at what time, and who's going to break down the stage and who's going to clean up, and who's going to push flyers. And then we'd have a couple like what do you call it, like stands or booths around. I remember they were giving out, one was like skate shoes. I feel like they had some other ones with like stickers or something like that. But definitely a lot of involvement in music, a lot of involvement in, like skating and like all kinds of stuff where you could just participate with a bunch of people. It was usually pretty chaperoned, so like, if there was an event, usually I'd be able to get there either through my parents or family friends, and they just drop us off and come back and pick us up or whatever. Like it, was never really a big deal. I remember we would rollerblade around in the parking lot, and like there was a lot of stuff that we used to do that like like my parents weren't home all weekend. They were driving us all over the freaking place. Like like um, and this is LA. It's not like there's no traffic. Like there's traffic. So I was definitely around a lot of stuff. Um, and I wouldn't say that it was all like free, but it wasn't like ultra expensive either, because you know a lot of it we didn't really have to pay. We didn't have to pay like a lot of money. Um, like for sports league, I don't know how much it would cost, but or even like winter camp, Bible camps, snowboarding, ski days. We had some outdoorsy teachers who took us to do beach cleanups and learn about like rock climbing and water rafting and all that kind of stuff. Like I don't really know, but yeah, like um, I definitely had an interesting upbringing, and I think it was because I was connected to a church where the lifestyle isn't really like expected that you're going to be sitting indoors all day every day by yourself in front of a TV. Like that just wasn't normal. Culturally it wasn't normal, and so we were exposed to get outside. Like you had periods of time where you weren't really even supposed to be too connected to like media, and this was like pre-social media, so you weren't really supposed to be like online and watching TV and all that kind of stuff. So usually kind of forced people to be either, if they're going to be indoors, they were with other people with that mindset indoors, talking and, you know, having social interactions, or they'd be outside, you know. But either way, it was very social. Like, you weren't just sitting inside by yourself watching TV. Like, that was not a way that we would spend our weekends. I never spent a weekend really as a kid, from what I remember, just sitting inside watching TV, unless I was like sick, or maybe if it was like raining and sports were canceled, or something like that. Like, maybe if it was like spring break, and like we didn't really go on vacations all the time like that. So like maybe like spring break we would stay in and like maybe sleep in a little, and or even during summer we do that a little bit. But I remember even during summer we had to do like Hooked on Phonics. I used to hate that. That was like the most boring exercises. It had these cassette tapes, and like it would open like this big like plastic folder kind of thing with these little like booklets and all this kind of nonsense. And you know, we were expected to kind of like develop skills, learn. Like, we had a little bit of a schedule. Like, we'd always have to, you know, get up, get dressed, get fed, you know, practice some reading, practice piano, and then we could kind of go play outside. So like, you know, our friends would always come over and be like, hey, let's go outside. And, you know, we were supposed to do like all of our little skills and stuff. And so, and my friends, you know, they had like reading groups they had to do, and like books they had to read, and like camps they went to and stuff. And so it was like, you know, I was just around people that were just very involved in doing things, you know. So even though, you know, I was around people that maybe I could see were really gifted, but maybe they weren't like in a profession using those gifts, like there was still opportunity to kind of volunteer your time with the gifts. And yeah, I always kind of liked just having a lot of activities to do, and people to do them with. And I feel like it was a pretty unique upbringing, and it did develop pretty close ties with people. Like, a lot of these people I still know from like childhood, you know, because we all spent so much time and energy together for years, you know, for decades, and our parents did too. So it was really, I don't know, it's just really interesting to think about. Like, I was never really given messages of like not being able to do things, but I definitely knew where my strengths and weaknesses were. Like, you know, yeah. And, you know, mornings have always been hard for me. Sleeping on time has always been hard for me. I mean, caffeine helps a little bit. This morning I woke up, had some C4, ate some breakfast, had a little more C4. So I'm supposed to be getting in a workout here. But I don't want to go to the gym. But that's probably the easiest thing to do, would be to go to the gym today. I really don't feel like it. But I got all this like C4 in my system, so I feel like I should probably go. But I don't know. I'm I don't know. Maybe I should go to the gym. I really don't feel up to it though. But I think I might go to the gym. Like like part of me just wants to stay inside all day. But it's a really beautiful day out. Tomorrow there's supposed to be some stupid rain. Yesterday I struggled with my energy, most of the day I struggled with my energy, but I think I needed some caffeine. Like, I think the tea caffeine just wasn't enough for me. But I don't know, I'm trying to check the weather. It looks like it's not good. Looks like there's gonna be rain Sunday. I can't see when, but I don't know. I'm supposed to be going to the mountains tomorrow, which is why I'm kind of obsessing over the weather. But it looks like it's going to be sunny till about noon today, then cloudy at about 1. So I don't know. And if I stay home, I'm not going to get a good workout. I already know that. So I don't know. I might just get up and go to the gym. I don't like going too far past like 10:30, because then it gets pretty crowded. But I don't know. I'm pretty bored at home. I don't really want to sit around the house all day, so I might actually get up and just go. Because I'm caffeinated and I'm fed, so I might as well just go to the gym. But I don't know. I didn't feel too I don't know. Like, my energy's not super high right now. And I don't really feel like being around a lot of people. But I don't know. I don't want to sit around the house all day. So yeah, I gotta figure that out for my morning. And then just kind of get going with it.